guys. Well, I took a little break from getting some videos done because I wasn't feeling too good, but I'm back again. And I thought today I would tell you my gastric bypass story. And I'm just going to tell it like a story. I'm not going to go into all the real medical jargon and all that kind of stuff because other people have done that in their videos and you can get it all there. So I'm just going to go through my story and something pretty spectacular that happened to me the day I had my surgery that has never left me. But I'll get to that. Anyway, in 1998, I was still working at the high school, and I was getting sicker by the day. And I didn't know how much longer I was going to be able to hang on. I was hoping when I got my month off in July that taking that month off and getting a whole month of rest would gear me up so that August 1st I could come back to work and be ready to go and raring to go. And that was the plan. And I had spoken to my boss. He had come to my house and talked with me and my husband, and it was agreed that I would do 1 day a week at home where I was more relaxed and could rest in between working, and I could do it at my own pace. So that was to help me out even more. He couldn't have been nicer. He was a great boss, and he was very understanding of my being sick, and to let me stay home in a job like I had where it was imperative that I be at work because that was my job, is to be there for those kids and stuff, was him bending over backwards to keep me working, and I appreciate it to this day. I will never forget what he did for me. But as it happens, I came back to work after a month off in July. I came back to work on August 1st, and I walked in the door, and I was already feeling fatigued, and I thought that's not a good sign after a month off that I already feel tired. And about mid-morning, I just collapsed. I couldn't go anymore. I just could not go anymore. I didn't have the energy to lift my arms. I couldn't write. I ached all over like I had the flu. I had a headache. I mean, everything. And that was after a month off. And I knew right then. I think God told me in a loud enough way that I got it that time, that it wasn't going to go anymore. And the other secretary that worked with me was very kind. She's my dear friend. And she said, go home. Don't keep trying for everybody else. You're sick, and it's time that you just accept how sick you are. And so I drove home. It was hard to drive home because my mother-in-law was visiting us. It was a bad time for all of this to be going on because we were trying to take care of her at the same time. And my mother was very ill. My sister was helping take care of her, and we just were, no, my mother wasn't ill yet then. She was still going then. It was a couple years later before my mom got real ill. But my mother-in-law was with us, and she wasn't doing real well at the time. So anyway, I went home. That was it. I had to talk to my boss and let him know that, you know, it was very difficult to let him know that I couldn't do it anymore. I was really sorry to leave him in such a lurch at that time of year. We were very fortunate that we had another receptionist in the office that could come in and partially take my place to keep things going at school, and it kept running without me. It always runs without you. You just don't think it can. And then something happens to you, and you find out real fast how unnecessary you really were to the whole scheme of things. So during that time, there was about a 6-month period when I was forced to retire where I had to go through all of the hoops that you jump through to get on permanent disability. And actually, in all honesty, I almost hate to say this because I know some people have had it so rough to try and get declared permanently disabled. I did not. I saw 3 different doctors. Each doctor that I went to told me, you obviously cannot work anymore. You're just done. And, you know, I cried every time because I wanted to work. I was hoping somebody had that magic pill or that magic something that would make me feel better and I could go back to work, but that wasn't to be. They don't have a cure for fibromyalgia. And so I had to go through all of the rigmarole to get on permanent disability. And at 6 months, I finally got my letter that I had been accepted on permanent disability. That was a huge, huge day for us because it meant that financially we didn't have to worry, that I had, through COBRA, I had insurance through my work for as long as I needed it. I had to pay every month, and that was a huge chunk of change. But with both of us being disabled, there was no choice. We had to pay for that insurance because my husband had disability, retired in 1992. He almost died. That's another whole story. And so anyway, wind forward to the year 2000. On those 2 years off, I had gained a ton of weight. It was hindering me, and no matter what I did, dieting or anything, I kept gaining weight, and I couldn't figure out, you know, what I was doing wrong, what was going wrong. So I went to the doctor, a specialist, and he told me, well, my doctor, he told me that I was at the point where I was going to have to do something more than just diet to get the weight off. We had to reverse things before it got any worse. And that's when I heard about gastric bypass. And I thought, you know, at the point I am in my life right now, I think I was 47 years old, I thought, I'm going to go for it. After I research it and everything, if it looks promising, I'm willing to do it. And believe me, this came with a lot of prayer, a lot of, you know, trying to figure it all out and whether this was right for me and whether I wanted to do it this way and everything. And in the end, it turned out, I told God, if you mean for this to be for me, then please let it just fall into place, one thing after another. And it did. It just seemed to go one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, until it was all lined up in a row. And so I had the surgery. Now, the day I had the surgery, it was down in Sacramento, California. It was actually in Roseville. That day is a day I will never forget, not only because I had the surgery that day, but because something happened to me that gave me proof that there is a God, that there is angels, whatever. What happened was I had to show up at the hospital that morning, and I hate to put this in such just matter-of-fact terms because it wasn't matter-of-fact when it happened. It was miraculous, and let me tell you what happened first. I had to be at the hospital at 5:30 that morning. Now, any other surgery I've ever had, when you get to the hospital, they take you into pre-op, they get you all set up, they start your IVs, they ask you, do you need a little something for your nerves, which I always do, get you all ready for surgery, and then when it's your time, they wheel you into surgery. This was totally not like that. I had to be there at 5:30. I waited until about 6:15. They took me into a little room and asked me some questions, gave me a gown to put on, put me on a gurney, and wheeled me into the operating room. No IV, no medicine, no nothing. And so here I was laying there. They moved me over to the operating table, and there was only 2 nurses in the operating room at that time. Nobody else was in there yet. And they said, they put my arms out like a cross, And they said, we'll be with you in just a few minutes. We have some things to do over here. So they were over in another side of the room, and I was laying there on the operating table like that. And as I'm laying there, I don't quite know how to describe it. A fear overcame me like nothing I've ever felt before. It was an absolute certainty that I was going to die in this surgery, that everything was wrong. All of a sudden, everything was wrong. All of this falling into place, everything happening the way it had, everything. It was all wrong. And all of a sudden, the fear whelmed up in me, and I was just at the point I was going to say to the nurses, I can't do this. Stop this. I can't do this. And I did say, Jesus, help me. And in that instant, I felt a feeling rush over me from the bottoms of my feet all the way up me till it totally engulfed me. And it was a feeling of absolute peace. I can't even describe it because absolute peace doesn't cover it. It was, I remember praying as I laid there, God, please let me stay right here for the rest of my life. Please let me stay in this moment for the rest of my life here. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. It was joyful, peaceful to a point of you wanted to cry. It was so beautiful and so peaceful. And about 5 minutes later, one of the nurses came over and asked me, honey, do you need anything for your nerves or anything like that? And I just smiled at her and I said, no, I'm doing fine. And a little bit later, they came in and started prepping me for surgery and getting me ready. The whole time, that feeling just stayed with me until they knocked me out for surgery. It was absolutely something otherworldly. It wasn't anything you can feel here unless you are given a gift from God. It wasn't something I've ever felt again, and I've prayed for it. I've tried to get that feeling back so many times. I've prayed for that feeling to wash over me again, just so I could feel it and be sure, did I really feel it? Was it really that beautiful? Was it? And I know without, I'll say that, and then I know. So anyway, that happened that day. I woke up from my surgery, and I was, had already been moved to my room, and I felt like I'd been beaten with a stick, literally. Just the fibro had kicked in from laying all the time that I'd laid on the operating table. It had gotten worse. I was sore from all of the air they pump in you during the surgery. And, of course, they'd cut parts of me inside, so I hurt. Everywhere there was to hurt, I hurt. And it was a rough 3 days in the hospital. Let me tell you, that was a rough 3 days. My husband was an angel. In fact, he brought me an angel to sit by my bed because he said, when I'm not here, I want you to know you have another angel right with you. And it was really sweet. I still have that angel sitting on my dresser today. But I started losing weight right away. I couldn't eat anything for days and days and days. We had rented a motel room that had a kitchenette and had long hallways, and I would walk those hallways with my walker, walk those hallways, and I kept losing weight. In the first about 3 weeks, I had lost 50 pounds. And then slowly but surely, it just kept dropping off, and my total weight loss was 140 pounds. I've since gained a good 60 of that back, and I'm trying to get that off. That will come. I'm still working on that. I'm at 24 pounds, and I haven't dropped any more. So that I'm still working on. I haven't been doing very well with it. I haven't made a video about it because there wasn't much to tell. Would I have the surgery again? In a heartbeat. It did a turnaround for my health. For 3 years there, I had not excellent health. I still had fibromyalgia, but I was able to function so much better. And even since then, I've been able to function better. I would have it again, knowing what I know now. At the time, you know, I was so afraid of it after that day at the operating room. I don't know if I had to go through that fear again. I don't know how I'd do. If I knew that that feeling was going to come back, I'd do it just to get that back. It was that wonderful. I don't know what else you want to know about the surgery. If you want to know day-to-day things or just my reasons for why I decided to do it, whatever, go ahead and comment below if you have questions. And I'll do another video and answer those questions about, you know, things you want. And ask me anything. I'm open. So let me know what you think of if you have any questions you want to ask, and I will do another video. And I'm going to call it there for right now, because there's no reason to go into all the finite parts of it. Other people have done those videos. Unless you have a particular question for me and want to ask it, then I'll do it. I don't want to keep this going too long, so that's all I'm going to put out for today. But I'm doing fine. I hope you guys are all doing fine. I want to thank my new subs, my old subs. I thank you all for being with me and following me and sticking with me. And I want to mention Glitzy Granny is a station that I told her I would mention it on my channel. Her channel is called Glitzy Granny. She's as cute as she can be, and I will put her link below. And can't think if there's anything else. I didn't do I just came in here, sat down, and said I'm going to make a video. I've got to get a video made. And I didn't really, usually I write it all out, plan it out, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do and stuff. I didn't do that today. I just decided I'd wing it all today. So that's kind of where it's at. So I love you all. Hope you guys are all doing well, and I will catch you later. Bye-bye.